the situation they find themselves in later. Now take a look, they're pretty close to the next zone. So there is a possibility, but I don't know, man. It's not looking great.
No, they're fine. They're fine. Remember, everything is just getting kicked off here. So Sitting off I think he used the shockwave to pick up that card. Now they're just getting their farm on before they move over to this reboot van here. And they actually have somewhat of a favorable zone here because the next zone is only pushing just east of them. So they'll be okay. You can see a little bit of a snippet there. They should be able to get this res off no problem. And that's going to wrap up this battle here in Snobby.
It's going to be pretty good for them. At least we hope so. But of course, as always, there's action happening all over the map. Up on Viking Village, we can see another trio here. So Cab was actually sitting on the mountain. If you were watching the mini-map, he was actually looking down on them as that whole fight happened. He could have potentially gone for a heavy snipe, but they were on the back half of the Snobby houses, so there's like really not great line of sights for that. But I mean, his loadout's looking pretty good for this early game. And again, he's not that far from rotation. It looks like a little bit of a split drop there. So one of his duo trios, excuse me. Would you call, if you're talking about a trio, and you're talking about one of the three, would you refer to the other two as the duo? Because then it just sounds weird. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I struggle with it a little bit. Sometimes I do a little bit of both just to play it safe. But it does roll off really naturally, right? When you say his duos.
Yeah.
Because like those are like his.
But then I don't like to confuse people. These are the things that genuinely keep me up at night. Is how do I best communicate to viewers what's happening? Real talk, real talk. Anyway, though, we got two of these trios coming together. They've reformed. It looks like there's actually shockwaves. All right, so a nice stack of 6. That's what you like to see.
Into the inventory. Yeah, he's capped out here, and there's extra splashes there, so their teammates and Novice should be able to kind of pick those up for them. This is one of the splits I like about the Viking Village. It hasn't changed. You get to get that Shambles house. You get the two house on the coast. Sometimes you even get the crack shot house over at the Frosty Flights area. So there's a lot of opportunity for loot here if you play off the Viking area, especially if you split up and it's uncontested. And that's why their loadouts are so nice right now. They actually had a fair amount of loot split between themselves. So now looking to rotate just outside of Greasy. You hear the music going off. Cabs just keeping eyes on it, seeing if he can catch a peek or something.
I mean, he does have the heavy snipe, so if he does get eyes on someone, he could very well drop them, especially in taco time, right? Because you're kind of you're dancing, right? You're gaining back that HP. Potentially, if you get lucky and you go ahead and grab one of those tacos first, remember you get that extra movement speed, so you can be running around at max speed. There is also this little unique spot where you could potentially find some foraged items. We have eyes on targets.
I love it. Cabs marked him out, so he's probably going to wait until one of these guys try and take a consumable. Looks like he has eyes on this first player out front. That's a nice spot. Can he line him up here? Doesn't look like he's going to... Oh, he does connect and follow up with the perfect 2-shot AR follow-up. And it was actually really clean, too, right? The angle that he had, the wall just wasn't enough. The reaction was swift. It was quick. He got hit. He threw a wall up, but he was at just the perfect side angle. And that's why you have to box up all of your sides here. Even with the shield bubbles coming down now, the fight is going to happen here. They're going to collapse. Love how Cabs is taking the wide angle here, looking for all eyes on sight. He knows the revive isn't quite happening yet because he can see one of the players in front of him waiting for his team, playing super patient here. And actually, I lied.
Yeah,
the revive did go off.
Yeah, I was going to say,
shield bubble.
Once the shield bubble did come out, they should have immediately gone for the revive because that would have been the best play, right? Because you know they have to make it inside your bubble if they hope to do damage.
Ooh, the revive did come out. Explode action right there. That's a lot of pressure right here, Zeke.
More explodes are just going to kind of fracture builds all the way around. Right now, Novice is just trying to get shots out. Now, they will find Wendell here in the crossfire. So now it is a 2v1 right now. And just looking at the HP bars on the left, look at that. Gubu and Wendell are down. One player tried to shockwave out. That is Trimbala. It's not looking good because right now, Cabs is on the offensive. Another shockwave used on both ends. Now, keep in mind, he does also have the heavy sniper. So if he gets too far or he has an angle, he could go for the heavy snipe. But I like that he's saying, look, you know what? We've got two. We don't know who else is around us. We've been making quite a bit of noise. We just need to take what we've got and let this guy go. It doesn't matter. It's better to just kind of hunker down, find their loot, and reassess, and chase something down and potentially be picked off by a third party, right?
100%. That was a great disengage right there. Just says, you know what? You can get away with your life. You're probably not going to make it far anyways being by yourself in this trio format, but they did not expend a lot at all either. And mainly because Cavs just played the patient. He waited for his team to come up. He knew that they had the advantage, and they got there just in the nick of time, especially with that double slow. That pressure was just ridiculous. There was no way they were going to get out of there alive. So lovely engagement for them. Now we're hopping over to the other side of the map here. We're back center map, just under the meteor. There are players all over the place at factories, the divot, or I should say the dusty depots. Here you have this team just rotating across the middle, trying to find their way to zone right now.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the minimap for just a moment, so we know it's not completely cluttered just yet, so they will kind of have a moment where they can kind of decide the rotation, but just watch this lower minimap, right? So we have this information. They don't. So we know there's a trio up on their left that they're moving directly toward, that are making their way around this current little mountain, and then there's one already posted up in the house just north of there. It's smart that they're going up because it's going to give them more kind of like an Overwatch style, right? Like they can kind of look around and say, what is going on as far as the eye can see? The trio there was on the left. It was the blue triangles we see. So right now, the current safe zone is around Loot Lake. So it depends on kind of where we go from here, because they could use that in Infinite Rift inside the Shattering Dome there. But I don't think that's always the best play, because you either have like a lot of people going for that, or you can just kind of rift out in strange positions and like potentially take a bunch of storm damage. We'll have to see. Is that a person standing still? Were they gargoyling?
Yeah, they opened up that cone there, trying to look for some shots, and that heavy sniper came out real quick. He was trying to see if he can find one here. Remember, they're only just a couple. Okay, so one of them managed to hit a tag off, and that one's going to be another tag right there. It's going to catch him a full knock. Remember, Storm Surge is in effect here. We're looking at Brazil, Heat 1, Game 1. These lobbies are usually the first couple, maybe the first 3 games are the most passive, right? That's why we're seeing Storm Surge. 80 players remaining on this rotation here. 300 damage now above the threshold. So that one elim right there was crucial to keeping them in the game and keeping them safe for that matter.
Yeah, man. A little more loot to kind of divvy out to your trio. We do have other sets of trios, though, very close. We got one straight across the way, some closer on those little islands around Loot Lake. There's even a trio right behind them that looks like they might have eyes on them trying to close the gap. And there's a supply drop that just happened to hit the map, so maybe they could try to contest that. I don't know. It feels very dangerous. Look, another trio coming in from the bottom right around that mountain. So again, man, we're sitting on 78 players in the lobby. This is insane, right? Because right now, you're trying to get a feel for the games. You're trying to see, like, okay, where am I landing? Am I having people being contesting me? Because remember, these are dedicated games, right? So these are heats. Just in case you weren't familiar with the format or anything like that, these are players have worked really hard to make it into these heats. There's an amount of heats per region, and there's kind of like, you know who's going to be in your heat, right? So if you're someone that's like, look, I've been playing against this enemy trio this entire time. I know they always go retail row. And if you decide I have to go retail row as well, that's going to be like information you have beforehand, but then you have to like figure out, are we trying to fight those guys? Do we need to change our plans? Like, what do we want to do here?
Yeah, that's one of the perks of knowing exactly who's in your lobby, and one of the cons too, right? Because then at that point, other teams that just prepare better can set up these huge counter strats to you and your team per se. But don't forget, guys, again, right now Storm Surge should be absolutely in effect right here. 75 players remaining. The Zone 3 is already revealed, and that's why you see the kind of shots coming out here. This is desperate here. Only 50 damage above the threshold. Nice knock right there. He's going to catch Lucas here. Jossman, can he get the convert? And he is, because he's going to land right on top of Champion. His teammate is going to turn that down into a point there. Nice little pressure right here. Can they get this last player? Oh, these guys are hurt here, Zeke. You can see Mystics now getting pressured out. Nicholas also really hurt. They both have these players on whites here. Champion's going to get a huge chunk shot right there. He's going to get pumped. He's going to get traded out, though. That was really close. He's under the ramp. Does go for it again. Gauntless takes a shot right there. This player is not going down without a fight. Nicholas nearly clutching up.
I like that Gon here, the moment that he fell down, he placed the ramp as like a defensive measure, but it was like guaranteeing that this enemy player could not send a shot out with their shotgun. Because if they had, it's very possible he could have been one pump depending on what shotgun they had, or at least definitely chunked out Gon. But they worked it out, right? Like, and now they have access to all their loot. And they're probably feeling pretty good after being the ones that like kind of won the hill and seeing the next zone. They're like right there on the edge. So they just want to take a moment, kind of recoup. They have plenty of things like the splashes. We've got the campfire ticking here as well, but the campfire is going to be a pretty big telling fact to everyone else around them, like, hey, there's someone wounded in here to the point where they have to burn a campfire, right? So looks like no one's going to contest.
There's still plenty of loot, too. There's still plenty of loot.
Knuckles.
So Knuckles comes in. He had no health. It's going to be such a freebie for them. He kind of just handed that one over. He said, hey, I'm right here. Come take me out, man. Take this point. He's back to the lobby right away. And that's just a beautiful pickup for them at this point. Now they have tons of material to spare at that point, being that they just got a nice drop up for themselves. And look at this loadout. He's got 4 shockwaves. He's got the heals. He's got the infantry rifle. This is quite the loadout right here. It's somewhat of a pack-a-punch loadout, I like to call it, because it's all offense. Pump shotgun, infantry rifles, no fast-fire weapons in his loadout.
Yeah, and with the unvaulting of the silenced AR, it looks like they're going to opt to leave it behind. I like the silence. Dude, I was literally going to say, I love, and once we vaulted, I was like, man, I missed that weapon so much. It's so precise. It's very deadly in the right hands. But they're saying, you know what, we don't need it. We've got our gold infantry rifle. That is what we're going to make do with. I'm curious to see now where we go here. Where is the next zone? We're about to be revealed here in just 2 seconds. All right, so more closer inward, excuse me, of Loot Lake. We're gonna see.
Oh, look at this! They're lining up the double snipe.
Didn't come through.
It was just a snipe AR follow-up. He didn't quite connect though. What a valiant effort there. Santos, Only, and Lucan here, just kind of hanging out. A little test fire on the weapon there. Not quite sure what happened for a second.
He was just shooting out in the world. Hey, pow pow. Yeah, we're here. We're dangerous.
A couple shots out there.
You know what's interesting though? Based on like where we are, don't forget there is that kind of dome around the very central part of that infinite rift there in the middle. And if you're walking through that, you will be in low gravity. So kind of navigating around this can be difficult, right? Like if you're jumping, you're going to be a huge target, right? Because those arcs are very easy to track. So if they're going to opt to like make this rotation, like they want to be trying their best not to jump. He's trying to find the last person. Oh.
Yeah, and he was actually using the strat where you go in the water and you kind of aim your camera up, try to see if you can, you know, single out this player, see if you can catch those pixels. He was right. Like, he was spot on, but Yoinkmeister kind of slid just out of that range, and he knows he's nearby. He saw him for a second before, so I guess he's figuring now, like, oh, there you are, buddy. Got behind the wall there, and oh man, he was so kitted out. Legendary AR, legendary shotguns. It's going to be a big upgrade for this trio right here.
And now here we go, man. The circle's moving. Oh, they need to get themselves in.
They're going to go with the launch pad up and out. So that's a slow pad because of the, you know, rift effect from the zone there. I love what they're doing here. They're going to mark up this rock. This rock is indestructible, so they can actually kind of poise up perfectly just beside it here. That's going to set them up real nice for another zone. And they're in the middle. There's a good chance they'll get this next half in and half out zone, being that they're dead center right now.
Yeah, and I mean, in some instances, it's like, why did you burn a launch pad there to kind of get this rotation? But don't forget that it is low gravity, so it's going to give you like a higher arc, so you can actually get a little bit farther. I like that they did it. I hope they have a follow-up launch pad, but they do also have, you know, other utility items in their kits. We'll have to see how things go for them a little bit later on. Don't forget, top 12 is when the first round of placement points get divvied up, so we're just over halfway there. Now the question becomes, where is this next zone, right? Because that's going to pretty much dictate where everyone else has to go and how they're going to try to move. We already see, like, there's a bunch of trios taking fights. They're on the right side of your screen. We see a bunch of people fall. So we're actually going back where we came from.
Oh, no.
This is tough. This is going to be a little tough for these players, especially on the very edge of the zone. The ones that are kind of already there and established is going to be better for them, but we'll have to see how they make do. Hyped, though, he's going to find himself quite a bit of loot.
He needs that shotgun, too. He's only got a blue tack right here. He is going to catch the edit, catch this player off guard, though. And it's Nox has Donuts who gets taken out right there. Was caught slipping for a second there. And this is actually more importantly, besides how far they have to rotate, most of the zone right now is actually in the rift zone, in the low gravity zone. It's going to be such a tough place to fight. I've actually seen some interesting strategies where players use cones to cut across, and you put a cone, you edit real quick, and then you move cone to cone.
Yeah.
Instead of not necessarily ramp boosting, but like hiding under the cones in a way. It tends to work, but I don't know if that's really possible when you have this many players left. So we'll see how these how these pros pretty much figure it out and make the best of this situation, because this is going to be a tough one right here.
You could even try to go for height, right? And then even if you got shot down, you kind of are falling in low gravity, you can try to reconnect. But just trying to to stay away from players down below and kind of let them fight it out amongst themselves. Unfortunately, Choi and Sidnoff will be picked up, and height is okay, 2 HP. He needs to find someone running here with low HP as well. 70 effective HP. If a stink grenade goes out, he will be eliminated. Fall damage will take him back to the lobby. He's got to be real careful right now, man. He has, look, he needs another 7 trios to go down to hit the first round of placements. And right now, they are on 4 points, which is really good, but that extra placement points could make the difference later on. And he's already getting
pressure. A lot of pressure coming from below him. He is the focus point of the server right now. This is not where you want to be. He tries to go back up another layer here. The heavy snipe was unsuccessful, and he is going to get taken out. For him, he's probably doomed from the start after he lost that much health. That team kind of knew he was there. He did make a move on them and was unsuccessful before that, so that's why he's going to get taken out here. But hopping over with team only, you can see they've managed to rack up a ton of elims. They're sitting really nice again as we look at that loadout. Shockwaves and all sorts of heals here. And it's actually coming back out. So look for them. They're cutting out of the low gravity zone here. This is exactly what you hope would happen. You don't want it to go any deeper than that. You also don't even want to hit the rift at this point either. It could be too much of a risk, too much of a risk if you go in there. You're going to throw yourself in the air. You have the potential to get chucked out to the zone. You just really don't want to risk it at this point. So everyone's probably going with a ground foot rotation here. Nice little ramp play right there. Throws it in their face. Fizen is going to get shot there. Let's see if he can convert. Nope, the mobility is forced out now.
Oh, okay, well, that wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. But at least it's going to keep Zin alive here right now. Lux here is also not in the best position, neither is Neo, but look up on top. You've got a trio that's holding it down from above, but everyone else that has kind of been trying to rotate kind of later, you can just see their health bars, man. They are just going down right now. Zin, again, he got chunked out because we were on him for a little bit. Unfortunately, more of his HP is going to go down, but his trio's still alive. They're now in close proximity to each other, so they can try and come up with a better plan of attack. And now, based on where we're moving, we are kind of going where we came from, but they're not going to be in the low grav zone. Oh, that was a massive chunk. That was
he's just
good.
Constantly eating little bits and chips of zone here. Is he going to make the quick edit? He's got to find an elim right now. He's got to find himself back in this game here. All he has to do is convert on a couple elims, get that siphon. With all the fighting going on right next to him, yes, exactly. Put that sniper away. Just get those shots. Turn those into health right here. That's what you have to do. Zin is still fighting for his life right here. He's actually out of AR ammo now, so he needs these right here. That's going to be one right there. Can he find another? Can't even jump in because there's a trap there. He's in the worst possible situation. He has the health, he has the elims, but he doesn't have anything else to back it up. No ammunition. Working his way over to Luke. Luke's going to go down. Can he get the exchange here? Is that wall his? The real question. He's just waiting, biding time here. Makes the edit. He could not find it. This is a very intense situation for him. He has to go down to low ground. Huge 180 right there, Zeke.
It's okay. He's got plenty of HP.
Can't even shoot through the wall. Look.
Well, he has more builds now, so he did find some. It's not much, though, Monster. He does have just 11 slugs left. He's got to try and make these shots count. He's got to find one. A pickaxe elimination! What in the world? Look at the ammo! Monster, he's in a much better position. 600 AR rounds. He only has 10 shotgun shells left, though. That's not a ton to work with. Zin, he's going to try it with the world on his back.
He's not reloaded, though. He's nothing's reloaded. He really has to reload here. But there's only one person left. It's a 1v1 right now. This guy has shockwaves. He's got a lot going on. Nice low ground peek right there. Zin did not hit it. Does manage to take the high ground, though, because the side jump was unsuccessful, and he still has the high ground. So I think the player below him has no materials, but neither does he. Here it is. It's a 50-50 shot. No AR reloaded. That's what I talked about. But he hits the flick shot on Raquel right there, and Zin wins the exchange in the final moments.
Dude, 13 eliminations, 15 points from the Victory Royale. Zin, what a legend, fighting through all adversity to find him and his trio the Victory Royale. You love to see it. Brazil never disappoints. But for now, we're going to send it back into the studio with Dr. Lupo and Sundown.
It is, in fact, true. You love to see it. Now that we have these games rolling, Brazil Game 1 down, this heat, and we want to take a look at the leaderboard just to see after all of that where everyone stands. You have to remember there's 6 games queued up, Sundown, so this is only the beginning of how things are going to roll out, but the leaderboard obviously always relevant, always important, and always poignant. You know, it's one of those things. You got to keep track of everybody, right?
At every stage of the game, particularly when it is 6 matches, you have to know where you're standing within the rest. And we'll see right here off of the top, it was that 28 points, the victory route, plus the 13 elims, capping it out there from NYU, Luke, and PH Zin. So very well done from them there. And I mean, they're going to be able, and one thing to note here as well, because in Brazil, we were watching Middle East earlier where the top 16 advanced, Brazil is bumped up into that next tier of regions. So the top 8 will be the ones advancing. So as we flip on over to the next page, you can already see there's a huge disparity from the top to bottom. So if you're able to even get on the board, one elim is putting you within that distance, and it's only the first game. And also there were a couple of teams who were missing through this, so it's only going to get that much more difficult. The pace of this is only going to pick up that much more as we continue going forward. And we're going to dive into some of the plays that happened in this game to see kind of what went down and what led to the 13 elimination victory route, because that is a huge jump. 28 points, as we saw before, is enough to really put you in that contention, and we should be good. But I mean, right now, as you can see, like, nobody is out of this. Even the teams who are unable to make it into that first match, they are capable of pushing forward. So Brazil showing that there is still much more to come on the table. And honestly, I'm excited again because we get an opportunity today to focus in on regions who don't necessarily normally get as much limelight, and they're capable of making some ridiculous plays. But also, we're seeing much more variance in the end games. We're seeing it kind of, I don't want to say devolve, but it breaks down where players aren't able to necessarily stick with the buddy. And generally, 2 people is enough to run out the rest of the lobby, as we saw from the power trio in Middle East. But even now, if it's just going down to a solo situation, can you imagine the Discord calls when you're the one to clutch up, when you know, hey, there's 4 people left, and all of a sudden you win a 1v1, you win another 1v1. I mean, I get pumped when I win a regular arena game, like, let alone the fact that these guys are sitting here in the finals and watching a run like that.
These are some of the most competitive games we've seen. Even referencing back to the World Cup, you have to realize that there's a big difference between what we've seen now, because it's trios. It's a different situation. It's a different set of players and just a different play style in general. Now, I do have a question before we jump into these replays. Sundown, during the World Cup qualifiers, we saw Brazil really show up with highly aggressive gameplay. A lot of those players were dropping really high elimination games. Do you expect to see the same thing in solos and duos carry over here into trios throughout these 6 games?
So in trios, you tend to find different pockets of eliminations. It's not necessarily constantly going through, where in solos and duos, a player is able to really sometimes go and pick out, like King, for example. If he sees someone, he's going to go because he knows in his head he's better than that player. So he'll take that fight every time. Your opportunities to get those picks in trios just because there's less people there. But as we saw even in the Middle East games, if somebody gets segmented and you have 2 or 3 people, that's enough to go and respond and at least force utility out. So we'll see the fights and see what happens. And the replay package is ready now. So we're going to hop in to some of those plays and see actually what went down in the early, in the mid game. So this is one example right away of that aggression you're talking about, where Zin, they're able to get pressure over towards their opponents, get tags, and then separate somebody, right? You notice they're pinching from each one of the sides, and they're looking to try and cut off one of the enemy teammates from the rest of his team, so then you can attack from 2 sides at once. And in trios, it becomes that much more effective because you're able to split out. And even if somebody gets down, if you're able to convert, the pressure then is on the opponent to try and chase. Now you can see Gonlias getting a good edit and then dropping the pump shot through to help out with his teammate, putting the fish stick skin to good use, and then following up with really good rifle support to make sure they're getting the shots over there. I mean, that is what you want to be looking for, making sure you're backing up your teammate, and that's kind of the team fight situations you talk out. Now, Riquelme getting a good angle with that suppressed SMG. You're seeing a lot less of it now that the TAC has been back, but he's able to then rock it out with the Great TAC, picking up a number of elims there, and then consciously deciding to go up a level, knowing he has limited mats, but elevating just up 1 more and allowing him to pick up a number of elims and push into a better situation. But unfortunately, a little bit lower on mats, is forced to drop down and enter into the fray, as you can see here. But with his advantage in picking up the elim there, he continues to run it out. However, with PH Zin, that pickaxe elim, he knew he had already hit him for 180. Take the guarantee. You can't miss that shot. It has the widest breath. And then here, sometimes you don't have to be the best. Sometimes you don't have to hit all your shots. You just need to be slightly better than the person across from you.
It's that last one that is most important.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a battle royale. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. You just got to get the job done and eliminate the person against you. But now, Lupo, I think we're going to head into the next matches.
Indeed, we are. My friend, thank you very much for joining us up here on stage. Yeah, we have more Brazil just around the corner. If you're watching at home, make sure you're going out on Twitter. People know what's going on here. If you see any crazy clips, make sure you're tagging us every single time. But we're going to throw back to the casters, make sure that they're aware it is go time for the next game. Gentlemen, if you could please join me on stage.
That's weird. I could have swore.
Zeke, sundown, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we're up now. All right.
Teleportation technology right there, all the way over to the other side, but got the dynamic duo back at it to continue with the Brazil games, and we all know who the better robot is here because we all know Zeke's a bot. I'm sorry, no, come on back out. He definitely does a better robot than me, and that's all I'm going to say there. But after, what were your thoughts on the first match?
I really enjoyed it, man. I love watching Brazil. They are just so incredibly aggressive and very technical. Edits, rotations, rifling skills, they bring it all to the table. I kind of touched on it earlier with Monster, but I still think we haven't seen their maximum skill ceiling. I still think they have so much more they're going to offer and show us over the next few days. And eventually, I think there could be an upset for the season champion. We have made some predictions, but I think there could be an upset.
I mean, there's the potential there. We've seen the consistent teams going through, but match number 2 is ready, so let's get on to the battle bus, drop on in, check out those drop spots, and keep the South American action rolling down in Brazil. You can see that bus pass coming through right now, the Meteor, also known as Tfue spot, and we are moving from east to west at a slight northern grade, and as you can see, Brazil Heat 1, game number 2. Thank you guys for joining us. My name's Sundown, and I'm joined here by Zekemus Prime.
Hello, it is me, Zekemus Prime, the guy he is talking about. Great bus path here, though, kind of like just cutting across the map. Almost center, just a little bit higher of that middle point, which is going to mean a lot of these trios have a great descent onto their potential POI, or where they like to land. Now, looking off, we've already seen quite a bit of teams dropping there at Moisty Palms. I'd be curious to see what's going on over there. But, I mean, some of the big spots that we have talked about over the last few weeks as we've kind of head into grand finals are obviously Retail Row. We were talking about Paradise before it became Moisty Palms. And then you also have things like Pleasant Park, even here Salty, right? The Meteor, Kevin, wherever he happens to be on the day. You know, there's so many places that these trios have opportunities to land. I think obviously the big one is like Retail Row, right? Like that has the most opportunities for loot in the early game.
I mean, we've seen what happens when teams are able to get retail to themselves and get spread right now over hanging out in Salty Springs with the only trio who's currently sitting up top at the 28 points. They are split across there, taking over the entirety of it with no contention. So they're just going to farm out, everyone getting up to the 150 builds they need, trying to find the shotguns and the spray weapons. But now over towards the Tomato Temple, just east of Lazy Lagoon, you got Suarez, Raquelme, Red Skull, and Nob, Zoea all going at it. Palamilix has already been taken down, so one Elam on the other side. They're trying to get whatever amount of mats you can, but in the early game, hitting metal and brick is not super efficient. You can see he's only hanging out on 5 builds there and in the low ground position, but Raquelme was able to make some great plays last game, and here he goes, building up on the high ground. Suarez also executing a pinch, trying to single out the player who's up top, who's immediately going to box himself in and just try to save as much time as possible. Some tags are coming through on Raquelme, but Zoea goes down. They're able to make it into a 2v2. The other partner covers. Great tack shots coming out from Suarez. Can he get the conversion? He does right away to get that one and get the siphon off. So now they've made it into a 2v1. That's the old dodgeball swing. He caught it and turned it right back around.
And this gives him a huge advantage, right? Sitting on the 150 effective HP, and now it's a 2v1 like you said. The question is, where is this last player? Looks like Nob is just quietly just trying to inch their way around.
So there's actually a little jump up you can get to. I'm assuming Nob is sitting on it towards one of those sides where you're able to kind of hide yourself. No, he was hiding around the corner, and he gets picked up right there. A little bit of a donkey laugh going through, and he's going to toss the traversal emote on him as well. And what was that? What
That was a little, you know, when you like in that emote you spin around and you put the hands out, you got to give them the
Okay.
There you go. But now we see kind of the first circle. It's pretty far, at least that's the way it looks. This will mean they have Tomato Temple to themselves. The question would be, did they pick up their card for their trio partner? I don't know what the best plan of attack for them would be, but for now, let's jump up to Kevin. We've got Twaco, Clipnote, and Nothing No Name. We've been seeing these guys pretty much over the last 5 weeks quite a bit.
Yeah, so they were, I believe they topped the very last week 5. They're diving down on Kevin, trying to contest the block, but this Argentine trio is looking to play extremely aggressive. They're landing directly on this player. He's going to box himself up, does get some tags, but you don't do anything about that. 3 spray weapons on either side of your wall. Don't care how good you are. Neither does Clipload, Nothing No Name, and Twaco immediately getting on the board with the 1 elim. And they're saying, hey, we missed the first game. We're going to capitalize here in the second. Into the box we go. Shoddy shots rain down. Nicholas FPS. You get to watch as Clipnote is going for broke. He sees the other player trying to rotate from Kevin. 25 shield. Some other shield tags coming out. 20 there, 20 there. Player is off towards the other map. Gets the 40 headshot as well as they run away. And they're saying, hey, we want to be on that board. We want to be playing tomorrow, doing everything they can to get themselves right back into the action, and they have the block to themselves.
That was so well executed. Clipnote is just insane. Llama! Are you serious? What is going on? They have this game on lock right now. But even going back to that moment when Clipnote decided to go in and he heard the player, they launched out, his control, like he started sending shots over and his bloom was a little bit wider, and then you saw him like for a moment took a deep breath, immediately reset his first shot, and it was just like blink, 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 20, 20, 40. They did not get the elimination, but they have wounded that person, and they are not going to be trying to contest them. Also, unrelated, this block is absolutely beautiful, so whoever constructed it, wow.
Looks like it's legendary Chunky there?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I apologize if I butchered the Asiatic tonality. I don't know. I have no familiarity
It's beautiful, though.
with any Eastern languages, but it is incredibly cool. Very well designed. Big fan of it there. And as always with the block, very dense in terms of loot available to them. So you can see now trying to check over towards the sides, make sure nobody's over there. They're going to double back over now and get complete control over the block. But there is another player who just looped back through. That might have been somebody going in for the cards. That is just the solo, and he's trying to disengage. But I promise you, there is no running from this trio. And yep, there was this Mystic trying to sneak back over for the cards, but no Sneaky Beavers in play there. Taken down and 3 points up onto the board. They said, hey, we're back in the game. You can't just get this for free.
I respect it. You know, like if he could have actually kind of gone in stealthily and grabbed the cards, it could have potentially meant he would have rebooted his trio. But, I mean, this is nothing, no name Clipnote and Twaco. I mean, these guys have been at the top for very good reason, and now they're going to be able to cap off their math, and that's only going to continue to propel them forward. Hopping back on with the only trio, that's the way that sentence should be worded. We've seen quite a bit of this trio as well in the last few games. Zin, Lux, and Niu, they are unbelievable, and again, they've got this to themselves, right? They've got the Meteor, and this is pretty good for them. They have no early eliminations, which... It's funny because Monster actually talked about this before the broadcast started this morning. He was talking with Shy, and he was like, hey, you know what? I think the best tech you could do is take an early game fight. And Shy said, oh, really? Why is that? And Monster said, well, it means that if you could eliminate them, you'll not only walk away with potentially, like, you know, effectively 150 HP or more, but then when it comes down to, like, storm tick damage, you'll be above that threshold, right? Because you have fought an early team, and you've got the damage out. So... I mean, there is a trio literally right behind them, so they might end up fighting either way. But, I mean, the loot's not looking good, Sundown.
Yeah, but NYU does have the bush, so they could be looking for a cheeky bush play right on the edge of zone. But it looks like that yellow team is just going to rotate around them. And that is X-Frame, Jordy Con Ernan, and Ian XD just going around a little bit to the north. Both parties opting, saying, hey, we don't want this fight. And I'm a bigger proponent of that. I know some people like if you can get reliable early games, but I don't really think such a thing exists unless you're uncontested. I would much rather play safe, rotate around, take whatever tags I can. If you do get forced to play around Storm Surge right now, it's not the worst thing in the world for trios, actually, just because the amount of shields you're able to hold. It's 25 damage through coming every 10 seconds. So that's
oh no.
like, oh no, unfortunately for Kelme, that was the trio we saw earlier. The caught out in the store is going to go down. Suarez is going to go for the immediate revive. They have the medkit over on the side, but how well can you execute? How well can you do your maths right now? Because there's the medkit. It's a single tick storm. You get 30 HP. He's going to have to pop the medkit and then chain revive right away. They're building up onto the high ground. There's no